In my quest to become a mediocre D&a-half pilot, I came to love to fly the Precision Aerobatics Addiction X. So when they came up with the Addiction XL, I had to have one. I was a little concerned that making it bigger might make it fly different, but they kept all of the important things. And along the way they apparently have improved a few things too. Physically, the Addiction XL looks just like the Addiction X, only it's considerably bigger. And I was glad to see that they kept all of the huge control surfaces. The side of the Addiction X fuselage is wide and flat for great knife edge performance. The side of the XL fuselage is also wide and flat, just a little bigger. When I first started working with the XL wings, they didn't seem to be that much bigger than the X wings. But then I stood a wing for my X up against the wing for my MX, and you can see there's quite a bit of difference. Just as important as the size is the structure within the wings, and they haven't skimped on anything from the older models. All of the trick engineering, laser cutting, and super straight jig assembly remains. The XL also has the pre-built engine mount assembly, and that's an important point. This assembly has all of the crucial motor thrust lines built into them at the factory. And everywhere you look, you can see the carbon fiber that's used to reinforce the structure to make it nice and rigid yet very light. When you look farther into the structure, you can see that this is anything but your everyday ARF kit. They even mount and pin the wings at the factory to make sure that you have the perfect incidence for this plane. A carbon fiber tube runs through the fuselage and gives the wings their superior strength. On the inboard ends of the wing panels, you can see all the preparation that's done at the factory. You literally just plug these in, put the screw in, and they're ready to fly. You can check the incidence if you want, but it's right. On the day I was finally able to mate in the Addiction XL, it was cold, windy, and overcast. But it wasn't raining, so we went flying. How many maiden flights do you see that we start off with a whole bunch of knife edge in it? I had to put a couple of clicks of aileron in it, but after that it flew fine. And we could even do a real tight little knife edge loop. Okay, part of one. The wind was pretty much knocking it out of things like that. Something my Addiction X does that people are just amazed by is a flat spin that's real tight and real slow. And the XL does the same thing. Keep in mind that there's some pretty gusty winds coming in from the right as we're filming this. Another thing that always amazed people about the Addiction, and it's even better with the XL, is the rudder authority. You can literally turn this thing around within its own length when it's not real windy. The Addiction XL doesn't lose any of its stability when you roll it inverted. I had notions of making a real low inverted pass with the XL, and I know I will in the future, but with the winds gusting like they were, I decided to play it safe. But it is very stable, even going downwind and gusts of wind.
Well, I knew it was tail heavy, but it's more than I thought.
Even this slow and inverted, the rudder has good response and I can turn it back into the wind.
What's the new plane, John? It's
I have the CG on my XL a little farther back than they recommend, but even in this wind you can see how this plane just settles in nice and easy. So naturally you'll try a slow speed snap roll, and it does that just fine. I can spend a better part of an afternoon just floating the Addiction down a runway, and the XL seems to do it even better than the X did. And the XL has plenty of power that if a maneuver starts going bad, you can just punch out of it.
Oh, you have another one?
The XL does seem to handle a little bit different than my X does, but this is only the second flight and it's gusty windy, but I'm getting the hang of this one and I like the way it flies. I was afraid that this much wing and this kind of wind was going to be real hard to handle, but it's nice and predictable. And when it does try to fall out of a maneuver, all of that wing keeps that fall nice and gentle. You can catch it, go back up, and do it again.
Oh, really?
There's no doubt that the Precision Aerobatics Addiction XL will do all of the 3D maneuvers. But if you just want to be a D&a-half pilot like I'm trying to be, this plane works great. This plane is very responsive, but you can dial it down to be as tame as you want to get used to it.
Wait.
And despite the wind and the cold, I just found out for sure that I've got another addiction for my stable.